was about was universal. You know, we was for human rights, we were for legal rights, we were for equality, and those are things in common oppressed people fight for.
The struggle was universal, but here it was intense. The Black Panthers fought the police on the streets and in the courtrooms. When Panther founder Huey Newton went on trial for the murder of a policeman, the Free Huey movement began on the Alameda courthouse steps outside.
Wow, this is pretty extraordinary. Courthouse.
Yeah, this is where we used to have all the rallies,
represent?
Free Huey rallies. This is it. This is when you see the pictures of Panther Center, and the fists up in the air with the placards on the stairs. That was all out here.
Newton's case was eventually dropped. Other Panthers weren't so lucky. The next place Emery took me to was named after a teenage boy who was killed by Oakland police in 1968.
Little Bobby Hutton was 17 years of age, just turned 17, when he got murdered, April 6, 2 days after Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968. They were traveling the night before with other Panthers because it was going to be a picnic here the next day, and we were trying to encourage the community not to riot because they would be basically just tearing up their own property and stuff like that in this neighborhood. Yeah. Police swooped down on them, and some of them got out of the cars and ran into different directions, and Lil Bobby and Eldridge Cleaver ran into a house on 28th Street in this neighborhood. And from there, the shots were fired at them into the house, many, many rounds, tear gas. Finally, they were forced out the house, and Lil Bobby was, in essence, murdered.
Hey, how are you?
Emery had just one more person to introduce me to, a woman who lost her husband in a gun battle in 1969.
The day that John Huggins and Al Prentice Bunchy Carter were killed, we were trying to leave the house because we knew that they would come for us. Not because we'd done anything wrong, but that was the way they operated. And the police converged on the house. They forcibly opened the door downstairs and stood in the door with their guns pointed at us. They took me in a separate car, and they drove me to the morgue. But they didn't drive me to the morgue because they wanted me to identify John. They drove me because they wanted to bring additional harm. And then they took us to the notorious 77th Street Police Precinct Station. Yeah. And this old-fashioned bulletin board said something like, "Score" at the top. Panthers 11, like a ball game score. Panthers 11, Pigs 0. I think we thought we would see the results of revolution in our lifetime. That was one of our mottos. Yeah. And we didn't, but I do think we made an indelible impression in the hearts and minds of people in communities like this.
No wonder the city takes the Black Panther legacy seriously. Black Panthers died, some are still in prison. No one was killed in New Zealand, but you take the guns out of it, and the struggle my uncle faced wasn't so very different. The universality of the Panther movement became obvious as the Polynesian Panthers took on the struggle of black South Africans. When the Springbok rugby team landed in 1981, it was the closest contemporary New Zealand has come to civil war.
There's the plane coming in very low over Eden Park. It seems to me to be just above the grandstand height.
In 1981, the New Zealand Rugby Union invited the racially selected Springboks from apartheid South Africa to tour New Zealand. Each game was met by increased protest and resistance, and at the final game at Auckland's Eden Park, just a stone's throw away from Ponsonby, the Panthers faced their final battle.
smoke bombs, flares, being an attempt to come onto the field.
For Uncle Will and the Panthers, the tour was a demonstration of support for apartheid, and it had to be stopped no matter what the cost.
Because you can see they had no shields or anything.
Yeah.
These tapes are from the police video unit. They were used to help bring prosecutions against protesters, including my uncle, Honi Harawira, and Tingi Ness.
It wasn't just a venting of frustration and anger. Nah, there was a reason for it. Apartheid was the beast that we have to slay. Your convictions have to be that strong, to stop the shaky knees, the knees knocking together, and I don't want to do this, and you think, yep, someone's got to do it.
As we got closer to the park, it became clear to me that if we were going to do something, we needed to have some kind of concerted leadership.
Right.
So as I looked around, I saw Will, and I immediately thought, okay, here's a guy I can work with. So I went and grabbed him. I said, bro, we've got to get this organised. You're a guy I can count on. And he told me what some of the things he was already doing. I said, oh shit, that fits exactly with what we're doing.
There's Tingi, and so we
Just that, oh shit, broke loose, and all I can see was Ting. We're all helmeted up, and there's this just big, huge melee going on with the police and the Red Squad.
What happened to you?
Yeah, I got whacked across the face, but I whacked him back too, yeah.
So some of us broke through. Honi broke through too, you see, because we decided, let's go. Oof.
So Honi's in here as well?
He's already gone through.
Oh, yeah.
And the trouble is that when we came back, the other squad came back.
Oh, yeah, and there's
so,
you're down here, and that's you there.
Got caught.
With the red jacket on.
I mean, they had these batons and things, they had, 4 on each side, and because I wouldn't go down, they just, so that, so I had 4 batons on the side of me, in me, and then you just went whack. And then I just remember these arms just picked me up. This guy just said, just keep your feet going, babe, just keep your feet going. And they just carried me on through these houses. And people opened up their doors to let us run through their house, and then the next house would open up and let us run through, to get out of there. This is after a good 2-3 hours scrapping.
So that's what happened. The day Auckland City out in the suburbs, it burnt. As Panthers, we've always been prepared to go all the way.
For me, I know that I can say, yeah, we are lucky to be alive today and tell this story.
Did you have any idea that that's what you were up for? Lives on the line?
Yeah, we were all set to go. I mean, when they charged me, I was facing 10 years because they had me. I organised the Patu squad. We had the top fighters from all the street gangs, and so we were all ready to get to battle. And we did, in the court case, they said 36 members of the Red Squad that we fought with, 24 after the battle, 24 permanently injured, they couldn't work anymore, so we did our thing, and we did it. Ting and them went to prison. Honi and I went to trial for 2 years.
In the aftermath, Tingi was one of the many who went to jail for standing up for human rights. My Uncle Will and Honi Harawira endured a 2-year trial and only avoided prison when Archbishop Desmond Tutu flew in from South Africa. He spoke movingly about apartheid and acknowledged the stand that Honi and Uncle Will had made.
When Bishop Desmond Tutu came in and gave that statement that we were liberators, humanitarians and not criminals, and it took the jury an hour and 10 minutes to come out and find us not guilty. When I was walking out of the trial, the cops, then the Red Squad, and they said, we'll get you, fucking irola here. So I knew that I was going to be, they're going to trump up something, so I shot over to Tonga. I've clashed with these guys from the Panther days. They were in the task force, Bastion Point. I clashed with these guys, and then with Patu Squad, you know, they were just getting tired of me getting off all the time. So I felt I was going to either get hurt or get done for something, because, you know, so I split off and went to Tonga.
So after more than 10 years of battling with authority and running community development programs, that was effectively the end of the Polynesian Panthers.
It's all about having inspirational leaders, and, you know, Will was that. I always respect Will for that, making that initial step and then bringing us all on board and being, you know, we wouldn't be following an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he did give us that kind of, you know, mana.
Yeah.
And
He's got
we
a waha
believed
like
in
me,
him.
my uncle.
Well, there you go, you come from the same genes. But, you know, and it's a gift. It was a gift, and I think he did really, you know, well in what he did with the Panthers, I think.
We didn't know anybody who thought like that.
No. Yeah,
There just wasn't anyone on the horizon who thought like he did.
Yeah.
Well, it just sort of had to happen. It had to happen. You know, we couldn't conceive of New Zealand as it is today without the voices of people in the 1970s. In terms of people's rights, in terms of people's identities, in terms of people's cultures, in terms of people's economic situation. You know, we're a million miles from where we were then. But it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have moved if people hadn't begun to speak up. You know, it's easy to forget that it takes at the beginning only a small number of people to speak up.
What are you most proud of?
You?
I mean, in terms of the PPP.
Yeah, that's what I meant. People like yourselves. What's most proud of is our children. When I see my children and my mokos, you know, doing well and knowing that they've got a better chance than we would have had.
Part of me really feels for my uncle. Much like Tingy and a number of the other members, you know, they made some huge sacrifices, not just in terms of wealth, but, you know, in terms of relationships, the way that they were viewed by other members of their family, other people within the community. You know, the privileges that I enjoy today and that, you know, my son enjoys today are a direct result of the stand that people like my uncle took. And I just feel that there's so many people that don't even know what the Polynesian Panthers are today, that that this makes this even more special and even more important.
40 years ago, the Polynesian Panthers set out to improve our people's lives. We've made gains, but are still among the poorest, least educated and most imprisoned of New Zealand society. The Panthers started the journey. It's up to us to keep it going. Malo Aupito, New Zealand On Air.